Section 1.4, Arguments and Fallacies. A logical argument is an assertion or a claim that must consist of at least two things. At least one premise, and a premise is a statement that supports or provides proof, and a logical argument must have one conclusion, which is a decision or a judgment. So a logical argument must have at least one premise and one conclusion. Let's look at a couple of examples. An eagle is a type of bird and eagles can fly. Some birds can fly. The premises here are the two statements at the beginning. An eagle is a type of bird and eagles can fly. The conclusion is that some birds can fly. So the idea in this argument is that we're using the two premises, the eagle is a type of bird and eagles can fly, to draw the conclusion that some birds can fly. So the premises are the proof or the support that backs up the conclusion. A second example, I won't receive mail tomorrow because tomorrow is a holiday and the Postal Service doesn't deliver mail on holidays. So the first statement here says, I won't receive mail tomorrow. If you think about that, that's actually the conclusion. We have following it the reasoning. Remember, the premises are the reasoning, and the reasoning comes after the word because tomorrow is a holiday. So that's a reason, and the Postal Service doesn't deliver on holidays. Didn't quite give myself enough room. So those are the reasonings behind then drawing the conclusion, I won't receive mail tomorrow. Okay, so a logical argument contains at least one premise. In this case, these two examples had two premises, and then a conclusion. So the premises are supporting that decision or judgment that is called the conclusion. Okay, let's make this interesting. Let's look at fallacies. A fallacy is an argument in which the conclusion is not well supported by the premises. Sometimes fallacies are actually called deceptive arguments for this reason. They're deceptive because they don't give you enough proof to actually draw that conclusion. Let's look at some examples. Let's say we have the premises, an eagle is a type of bird and eagles can fly. This is from the last slide. And in the last slide, we had the conclusion that some birds can fly. Well, if we look at our premises actually back that up. An eagle is a type of bird and eagles can fly. So we definitely know that an eagle, a bird from the premises, can fly. And so by saying some birds can fly, that makes sense. Some birds, we know the bird and eagle can fly. So that conclusion is valid. Let's compare that with changing that conclusion a little bit. Let's look at a different conclusion. Let's say we changed the word some to all birds can fly. If we look at our premises again, our premises are only talking about eagles. And what this conclusion is, the second conclusion is talking about is all birds. We only know that eagles can fly. We don't know about all birds. At least we don't know about all birds based on these premises that were given. And that's what we have to go on with an argument, is we have to use the premises as proof to draw the conclusion. And we don't have enough proof to draw the conclusion about all birds, only about some birds, specifically eagles. So we can't say all birds can fly. So this would be what we would consider a fallacy if we had this as our conclusion, because the conclusion is not backed up or well supported by the premises. Okay. Now, sometimes conclusions are true, sometimes they're false, sometimes we don't know. You can probably take a look at that statement, all birds can fly, and think of a bird that can't fly, like a penguin. And so you actually know that this is a false statement. But one thing I want to point out is that being a fallacy doesn't mean the conclusion is false. It just means that we don't have enough support in the premises to back up that conclusion. So even though we know this conclusion is false, not all fallacies contain false conclusions. A fallacy just means it's not well-supported conclusion. There are lots of fallacies that are very common in the media. And in fact, some forms of fallacies are so common we have names for it. This term, we're going to investigate 6 common types of fallacies, but there are many, many types, and it's kind of fun if you do a search online for them.